Sing with me. Happy birthday to you.
Come on. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
You big bloody Canadian.
Happy birthday, dear Bret Hart. That's right. Bret Hart is 61 years of age
61?
today. Doesn't look a day over 55. So what better way to celebrate the great man's birthday than by producing one of these roundtable things that Cultaholic is slowly becoming slightly famous for.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
Can't wait for this.
So, Bret Hart, on the GOAT scale, where?
He's really high up for me. He's like my favourite when I was a kid for a long time.
Oof, you are slightly older than us two.
Very slightly, yeah. And I had like cousin, because we didn't have Sky at the time, but I had a cousin who would just tape stuff. But Bret Hart was always like, yeah, well, one of my favourites.
I appreciate the good wrestling. I can see that. I can see he's the best of all time at doing that, potentially.
Yeah, technically, I think he's the best of all time.
But he was a bit boring, wasn't he? I know it's your birthday, Bret, but you were boring.
He wasn't really like an entertaining, flashy promo guy, was he?
No,
He was,
that's why he let me down.
his work rate. Work rate.
Yeah.
We should let Jack get a word in.
All right, well, I was going to say, like, I think, obviously, work rate, just in ring stuff, top 5 probably.
Yeah.
Really, really good. But, as Ross said, didn't really do it for me on the mic. But at the same time, I kind of like, looking back, well, obviously, I'm too young to remember it at the time, but looking back, I quite liked it because you've got the dichotomy. You've got Shawn, all flashy and show-offy and stuff.
Yeah.
Bret's just down the line, just a hero,
And
he turned, obviously.
Yeah, but he could cut good promos, like when
he
cut the promo on Owen. He's like, you can't always get what you want, and he's like running his little brother down. It was really good, really good. But yeah, I think he was just more of a ring general type.
Maybe
guy
it was
than
on
anything else.
purpose then. Maybe it wasn't just by you.
He's like,
Maybe I'm not giving him
bull crap.
Enough credit. So, like these roundtable discussions go, we're going to split this into 3 sections. We're going to do his greatest match. Sections, as the French would say. We're going to start with his greatest match, then we'll move on to his greatest feud, and then round it off and I don't think that enough wrestling content creators have discussed this thing enough, how we would slightly change what happened at the Montreal Screwjob.
What's the
That was a bit of-
I've never heard of that before.
How would you say all of what you just said in French?
Parlez-vous français? Chateauneuf de Pep. So, Sam Driver, we'll start with you. Your favourite Bret Hart match?
Favorite Bret Hart match will always be British Bulldog versus Bret Hart, SummerSlam 1992.
Patriotic bastard.
Yeah, just completely, you know me, down to a T.
Pacidi's dad was there?
He was Big Nige. Big Nige.
What did he buy, Pachidi?
Big Nige.
He bought him something and took it back.
Was it a foam finger?
Replica sunglasses?
It was something.
I think was it not a foam finger?
Oh, it might have been a foam finger.
We'll go with
Yeah.
foam finger.
Foam fingers.
Might be just a complete lie.
It might be. Yeah, he might not have bought him anything. Big Nige might have just been like, I'm going.
Big Nick Pack, as he's known on the internet. As we learnt on the cult on this week in wrestling.
What?
His username, I think, on eBay and stuff like that was Nig Pack. Until Pachiti, because obviously Nigel Pachiti, you get
right.
Nig Pack.
Yeah.
Can we just say like Nige Pack, please?
That's not what it spells, though, is it?
Oh, God.
God bless you, Nigel.
Wow, this took a dark turn.
So yeah, Bret Hart versus.
Yeah,
Bulldog.
Bret Hart versus Bulldog. Sorry, I was just sort of lost there. It had a really good build-up, obviously, with the Hart family split. Stu rather was siding with Bulldog. You had Owen and I think a couple of the brothers siding with Bret, and then the rest of the family were like, "Oh no, who do we support?" Oh, and Diana's in the middle going, which she is every single time the camera cuts to the crowd. Just
it's like bloody Coronation Street. This.
yeah, it was really soap opera, but it was good. And of course, Bulldog had a staph infection in his knee, which Bret has subsequently been like, "No, you didn't," but apparently he had a staph infection in his knee and worked through the infection, which, you know, commendable.
I've heard that Bret, I mean, I've watched the match, love it. I've heard that Bret absolutely carried him through.
Yes, he did, yeah. He was like, Bulldog was in a bit of a bad way, I think, at the time. And it was like, yeah, Bret carries him through. And you can tell on the pace, it's a very, like,
Fine, he would be used to doing that, Bret Hart.
It's like a traditionally slower match. And it's just like quite simple, quite straightforward, but you get everything you need out of it. Like, you don't get too much of anything, you don't get too little. It's like just right. It's like Goldilocks of matches.
The pop as well.
Ooh.
Bloody hell.
Oh, the pop, man.
The pop.
And the little victory roll.
The pop's so big that there's never been a proper pay-per-view since.
Well, it's the biggest wrestling moment ever in the UK, like hands down.
Yeah.
Like, there's just nothing that's... I mean, a show that scale, a victory that scale on a patriotic level as well. Like
when Grado beat Dave Mastiff on ITV on New Year's Eve. That was pretty big.
I was
Second
a
coming
bigger
of Big
fan.
Daddy.
I was a bigger fan of Delicious Danny.
Yeah, Delicious Danny was good at that.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
Never thought Delicious Danny would get a mention on Bret Hart's podcast.
yes. If you're chairing, I guess I should pass along to Jack, and then we'll go back to you so you can do the next.
So
bit.
you're now chairing, are you? Is that what you want to swap seats, is it?
Should we just, no, yeah,
It's
Jack,
hard to argue,
Jack, what's
Sam.
your
It's hard to
favourite Bret Hart match?
Mine's another pretty obvious one. It's Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13.
Oh, yes.
Would have been right around WrestleMania time. I was trying to rank all the WrestleManias. It was really hard, obviously.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for this match, 13 would have been right down there.
Oh yeah,
Not
it saves the show.
absolutely. It's the definition of a one-match show because and the match is just so good. 5 stars by Meltzer. Can't argue with it. It's got everything you need. It's brutal. It's hard hitting, but it's also very technical as well. And it's got the tricky double turn, the best executed double turn ever in
Yeah,
wrestling.
hands down. That is
Easily.
the better one.
Shamrock does really well as well. He's special guest referee.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Shamrock, Ken Shamrock, special guest referee, and really sells it. Really sells Bret being an arsehole afterwards, going back to attack
Yeah.
Austin after the sharpshooter. And it was the match that like made Austin, but it's also I think Bret's best match as well.
Yeah, I mean the ring bell. Oh, just
Yeah,
all that stuff.
the blood
Yeah,
going
the
down his
blood,
face.
everything. Austin passing out.
But
Yeah.
everyone obviously remembers that moment. But I would suggest if you haven't watched it in full, go and watch it in full because all the way through, it's an excellent match.
I believe Steve Austin does one of those podcasts where he talks over it. I remember watching
Does he?
that.
It's
Yeah.
really good.
Ah.
You've got to sync it up. You've got to sync up the network
Yeah.
and the podcast and like try and hit play.
Steve-
Hit a hellacious play button now!
In 3, 2, 1. Oh, bastard! I started early.
And then-
Stop.
So
3.
you've got it all set, and you're sat there watching it like, yes, Austin's talking me through everything. This is brilliant. And then he goes, I'm just going to hit stop now and talk a bit about this. You're like, what's going on? But the dynamic of the match was really good. Austin, at this stage, was like, I mean, he was quite underrated technicality-wise, but obviously not as much as Bret Hart. So how is he going to submit the Hitman? And I mean, in the end, he doesn't. He can't. He's rubbish.
Austin famously was found out about the match while sat at home nursing an injury.
Right.
He was watching Raw and found out he was doing that match. He was like, oh, bollocks. I'm not very good at submission matches. We're going to stink this joint out. I think it was in Chicago, which is the sort of place you don't want to be stinking any sort of joints out unless you have a high-grade variety.
Hey.
But no, they had now to worry about. It was very good.
Was it one of those matches that Bret has like a weird meeting with the opponent downtown in a diner? There's apparently a lot of that goes on with Bret Hart. Like on the
With the
day
mafia?
of the morning of the show, Bret will be in some diner downtown, and like the opponent will have been told to turn up, and he'll just be sat in a booth. He'll just go, "So here's what we're gonna do," and just like over coffee and like eggs, just like a Tarantino
Just
film.
like, write it down, pal. Give it later. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's one of the best WrestleMania matches ever as well. Don't know if it's the best one ever, but it's up there. It's really up there. Really good.
Can't argue.
Ross?
I'm going from a one-match WrestleMania to a two-match WrestleMania. And one of those two matches was Owen versus Bret.
Oh,
In
10.
the opener of WrestleMania 10.
Oh, it's a great match.
What
WrestleMania.
can you say? It's just match technicalities, prowess.
Two people that know each other inside out. as
Yes,
well.
it's very seamless. It's gritty. It's everything you want. But the thing that sets it apart from most of the Bret Hart matches is the camera from above. Oh.
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 Yeah.
I know it was there for the ladder match, but
Yeah.
sometimes when they were grappling and doing holds on the mat, it would zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, that got me going.
Just bring
So
that back.
that's on there for.
Screw the wrestling quality.
Kevin
All Ross
Dunn.
needs is a camera.
So yeah, I don't know what else you can say. It's just, lovely wrestling.
Owen as well.
Lovely.
I
Lovely
think,
grappling.
I think Owen helped a lot because he was always the Hart brother with the more personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, obviously you've said that Bret was boring. So
On his birthday, Ross.
Bret.
Happy birthday,
But,
Warren
Happy
Brett.
birthday,
But
I'm sure
Owen
he's
helped,
watching.
Owen helped bring him out of his always the younger brother, always the boisterous one, innit? That's how it goes.
See, I should have
Yeah.
brought my Bret Hart glasses in for all of us boys.
Well, you got some, didn't you, when he was over?
I've got 3 pairs.
Tell us your best Bret Hart story.
Oh,
I met him and he was nice.
I met him. And
There is the best.
I met him and he was terrifying. I was trying to find a toilet, walked into a room, and Bret Hart and Kurt Angle were sat there, and well,
I don't know if he wants me to say this, but Adam Pacitti had hold of the leather jacket. And Adam Pacitti has told me quite conclusively he thought about nicking it. But he,
Sort of like,
didn't.
I think it'll be like when you're on like somewhere really high and you get this sort of sudden urge to jump. You'd hold in Bret Hart's jacket. You're like,
Just for the
do it.
record, he didn't take it. Bret Hart has still got the jacket potentially because it was too heavy.
I think we should also give a nice shout out to Blade Hart who came
Yeah,
on a
Blade
night out
came
with us
on.
afterwards.
Big
man.
Blade.
Big
Blade.
Blade Hart.
He had Yeezy shoes.
Yes.
Yes, they were very expensive.
His dad didn't like them.
Yes. He had a great idea for a YouTube series that I wish he'd do, which is Bret Hart Hates.
Yeah.
And he just presents his dad with something, and Bret just rips it in half.
Yeah.
Just destroys it.
What car? It won't be that car company in Canada where he did that advert. Was it car company advert?
Oh, the car company.
He's in the living room.
Yeah.
Watching TV.
What was the Instagram or Snapchat thing he did recently?
That
as
one,
well?
maybe what I'm talking about.
No, he did the advert, but there was that Instagram thing where it was like, you weren't on The Simpsons.
Oh, Lesnar, you were never on Simpsons.
Maybe we should just scrap that and just play that. That's the greatest Bret Hart moment ever. So if we're going to rank those 3 matches in any kind of order, what's the best?
Well, come on, lads. We're all English here. It has to be
my
Bulldog.
wife asked that question. We've all come with 3. We're all going to say ours, aren't we? Let's move on.
The fans
decide.
You
Let
find
us
those
know in
comments.
the comments.
Which match
1,
is better?
2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Numbers are easy.
Yeah. Nice.
Favorite Bret Hart rivalry?
Owen Hart. It's
fair.
as you've already said. Like Owen had the more sort of entertaining streak in him. He was more fun, and I think he was able to do a lot more character work than Bret could. And yeah, like the whole brothers and sibling rivalry thing, especially building up to WrestleMania 10.
The turn as well at
So
the
good,
Rumble.
the turn, yeah.
And the promo afterwards. About his legs.
I just, I think for me and for my money, especially like they grew up together wrestling. Obviously, they were trained at the same time. They worked together in Calgary, like at Stampede Wrestling. They did all sorts of stuff together, and I think having that knowledge of each other just allowed them to put on just insane matches.
It's weird though because it doesn't always work. Like Jeff and Matt
Yeah.
Hardy have never had a classic singles match unless you count
It
the
was weird
final.
'cause, like,
unless you count the final deletion.
For them, I always thought you never want to see those 2 wrestle because they were so good together, whereas Bret and Owen.
They came
Owen
through
was
at
always
separate
very
times and-
underutilized, wasn't he?
yeah,
Until
they-
this was the feud that.
They didn't enter as a tag team either, so I think it was very much like, oh, who's the better brother? Whereas the Hardys, that was solved pretty quickly. So it was always Jeff, always Jeff, until recently, and then Matt Hardy.
2016.
Matt also beat him at WrestleMania. Let's not forget.
And murdered his dog.
Lest we forget. lest we forget.
Poor little dog in a fire.
dog.
Jack.
Mine's,
I think the dog was called Jack, wasn't it? That got murdered.
was
in
it?
the fire, yeah.
Oh wow. Mine's Bret versus Shawnee M. Shawn Michaels. It's a
Niche hot dad reference.
One of the big shout out Hot Dad. That sounds weird. Shawnee M. It was a good feud, but it was also one of the more controversial feuds ever, I think, in wrestling.
Really?
They hated each other.
Someone should
with a
document
passion.
this stuff.
Does Meltzer know this?
Obviously, the big old screw job, but there was also all the stuff like Sunny Days when
Oh,
Shawn
God.
made some kind of comment insinuating that Bret and Sunny were having it off. And Bret, obviously a married man, wasn't very happy about that insinuation. Had a fight with him backstage and ripped out a clump of his hair. Because in real fighting, Bret was always the better fighter, apparently. Could have just always battered Shawn if he wanted to.
Bret and Shawn's feud obviously also led to Bret punching Vince.
Yeah, well, we'll get. I
So,
mean,
yeah.
We'll get
on
there.
to
We're
that.
going to get there soon, Sam.
They also headlined WrestleMania 12, and it's a match that it's maybe one of the most divisive WrestleMania main events ever. That hour-long Iron Man match that was 0-0.
Yeah.
Which is WWE trying to do like a Ring of Honor thing before Ring of Honor even existed, trying to be like extra
They're
smart.
just doing
and clever.
a New Japan thing. Like,
Yeah.
time limit draw.
But-
okay.
but
But that's a traditional territories thing.
But yes, it was.
Yeah.
That's very true. And then Shawn won, and it was his moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Bret, bless him, he'd have his time again, and then be screwed again. Ross,
I'm going to go for America.
right?
Bret Hart versus America, because this is where Bret Hart came out of his shell a bit for me, turning heel. And it was so weird, because he'd be in America and he'd be a heel. He'd go to Canada, he'd be a bloody national treasure, hero, like David Beckham coming home today in England. Canadian Stampede as well, that pay-per-view I think is one of the best WWE pay-per-views of all time, that main event and Austin and his team and all that malarkey. But this is where Bret Hart came out of his shell a bit for me.
It was the best promos of his
The
career.
promos, yeah.
Yeah.
So America brought that out of him. We also got the famous Shawn Michaels, continue on from the Michaels rivalry, when Michaels was in Montreal, saying, and here's Bret Hart! And Montreal Daddy and all that stuff. We wouldn't have got that without the...
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and go... I could have said Stone Cold. I probably should have said Stone Cold. But I've gone for a bit outside the box and say America.
Well, Stone Cold's from America, so technically you're not
Yeah,
wrong in
true.
saying
He is America.
Yeah.
Bollocks to Hogan.
Mr. America.
In a world first on YouTube, a wrestling content creating site will now discuss the Screwjob.
Oh, Montreal Screwjob. What was that?
So we all know, well, do we all know, one variation of another, what happened on that fateful evening? We definitely know what happened in the ring.
Bret was told he was going to win. Earl Hebner was told, no, he's not. As soon as he locks it in, you count it. And that's it. Of
course, it was all Vince Russo's doing. Not.
Or what?
Psych.
The person who came up with the idea, according to Meltzer, was independently of each other, Triple H and Jim Cornette.
Apparently, they were all on a conference call, weren't they? And Triple H was
Really?
like, "You should," and then it all escalated from there.
I heard that Cornette said it for a joke, to Vince, "Oh, you might as well just screw him." And Vince was like,
yeah.
"Oh."
Cornette denies ever deliberately,
Yeah.
insinuating there should be a screw job. But I think it got to Vince, and it was like, well, yeah, let's just do that. And then it was Vince and Briscoe, wasn't it? Planned it with. I don't know if Pat Patterson was involved, but I think it was, and Ed Hebner was present.
Best finished guy in the business, Pat Patterson. That's what they always say. So, that wasn't any sort of insinuation.
He's going to start saying like Duke, Duke, Duke now as well.
That's Michael Hayes, that.
Yeah.
And his ideals. I can't do that. So, we're going to try and change something. What would we like to see have changed about that whole thing? Because it was a bloody horrible mess, wasn't it?
For anybody that doesn't know
Apart
what
from
the
Bret
screw
Hart.
job is, should we give a definitive sort of...
So Bret was told he was going to win and retain the title.
Bret was leaving for WCW.
Yes.
Yeah, because Vince couldn't match the salary that was offered by WCW. And Bret even said that Vince even told him, I can't match that, you should leave and you should take that.
Because if he gave Bret that, Take would have to have that.
Yeah.
Michaels have to have that.
So Vince was like, go, take the money, have fun.
There was also a bit of a sense that Bret was getting on a bit and he wanted Shawn to be the new guy and that sort of thing as well. But that's all a bit.
But yeah, Bret, basically Bret and Shawn go in to do the match. Bret thinks he's winning, and then...
Vince was terrified we'll get another Medusa, but with the biggest belt in wrestling.
Yeah, because Bret was going to voluntarily drop it the next night.
Yeah, and instead, Shawn locks in the sharpshooter. Bret doesn't tap, but Earl Hebner signals for the bell after Vince says something with swear words in it, and then they all run to the back.
Earl runs away.
Earl
He's the most physically strange moving man ever.
But he didn't know what to do, did he?
It's like the $6 million man run. He just sort of takes one step and it's like boom.
Yeah,
he just leaps.
Apparently runs straight into a waiting car and leaves because he promised to Bret. He'd sworn his kids.
Yeah, sworn his kids. He wasn't going to screw him.
Bret, of course, is really cross. Shawn pretends he has no idea what's gone on.
And we've got Bulldog and Neidhart and Owen at ringside.
It all kicks off. Yeah. Bret leans across the top rope and spits in Vince McMahon's face.
Yeah, the cameras have cut by this point.
Yeah.
But he's writing WCW and I heart you.
The thing that gets me with
the camera.
The thing that gets me with the footage is the thing that I always notice when I watch it is how quickly the front row stands up. They immediately notice that they're all like, "What the hell's going on here?"
Yeah.
Then, as legend has it, there's a big kerfuffle backstage, and Bret decks Vince. And that's it.
Well, Vince says otherwise. Vince says that somebody went to help him get up. I think it was Briscoe. Briscoe went to help him get up because Vince had fell over. But Briscoe put his...
Thanks to Bret Hart's fist.
But no, basically, Vince had just fallen over. But Briscoe goes to reach for Vince's hand, pulls Vince up, but he's actually standing on Vince's foot by accident.
Oh, right.
And Vince, headbutts his knee.
And
that's
a likely story.
Yeah.
So, if you want to read more about that, there's a million books and things online.
So much.
Good God, it's very layered and complex. What would you change about that whole scenario?
So I've got it down here. I'd have Shawn cheat to win, and I'd have it all agreed upon for Bret to do business. I know he didn't want to drop the belt in Montreal, but I think if you can agree to get Bret to drop it with Shawn cheating to win, you can still retain the sort of nuclear heat. You can have still have Bret go off on Vince at ringside. You can still have Bret trash the place, and then I was gonna have basically Shawn had run away, Hebner had run away, everybody'd run away, and it would be Vince and Bret physically assaults Vince in front of the entire audience, and it's like an immediate firing dismissal.
For a shoot, bro.
Probably
would have been at that
Probably
stage.
would have been at this stage, but if Bret was willing to do business, I'd still want to basically retain that nuclear heat, and have him physically assault Vince in some way, have him released by the company, and then he can just go on to pastures new and have a wonderful time like he did in real life at WCW, and nothing bad happened, and he was champion forever. That's how I want to remember it.
Yeah,
that's fine. Goldberg didn't exist.
Lovely.
Jack?
I agree with you in the sense that, as an incident, in a vacuum on its own. The screw job, I'm always leaning towards Bret's side. I think I always sympathise with Bret a bit more because he did get screwed. You know, there's all the talk about. There's all the talk about like, oh, he was unreasonable and stuff. But I think he was
willing to drop it the night after. Vince just didn't trust him.
He was lied to and stuff, and it leaves a sour taste in the mouth. But on the whole, I think without the screw job, I might not have become a wrestling fan because I was a WWF kid. They might have lost the Monday Night War. You never know what could have happened. But so I'm going to change it slightly. I'll keep it the same, but in the aftermath, I'd have wanted Owen Hart to win the title from Shawn. Because I think Owen Hart's one of the best never to win the WWF Championship or WWE Championship.
It's the best way to sort of restore the balance.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this is just being very speculative, but Owen may never have had his accident because he would never have gone back to the Blue Blazer. You can all go on, and he could have had a fantastic career that we all deserve to see. But I think the way they could have made the most of it was to not turn Owen into this like figure of fun for DX to poke fun at and stuff. Have him be a real contender, maybe have him win the belt, and then see what happens from there. Maybe it would never have led to the rise of Austin, though. There's just so many things you can never really...
I think you need that. You need it to still be an incident, because without that, you don't get the Mr. McMahon character.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get to Mr. McMahon?
I mean, that's the best thing of all of it, isn't it? It's got the best heel.
It's what started the entire... It, like, kickstarted this mass interest in wrestling. And
it saved WWF from losing the wars, But in a weird way. But it's still... If there was some way of having that happen, having Owen win the belt, and Austin still gets big, and there's all Austin and Vince and stuff, that would be what I'd change.
I'd give Stone Cold Steve Austin Mr. Kennedy's gimmick, though.
Right.
Just
okay.
Just
Austin.
Yeah.
Austin.
Weird you.
Ross.
The thing I would change was to not have any bloody camera crews filming a movie at the same time when this happened, just so people don't think, oh, it might be a work. Is it not a work? Is it a work?
Apparently, every single person involved with the booking committee, Vince's most trusted people that would go around to his house and book months of TV in advance, they all told him, don't do this movie. But one guy in particular said, bro, it'll be a really good idea. So Vince did it because he trusted him.
But Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
Should do it,
obviously, if the camera crew had to be there, allow them to go everywhere and let them film Bret Hart decking Vince McMahon. I just want any conjecture and rumour and bollocks taken away from this situation because it bores me to tears.
They didn't catch that, though, but they caught the whole, creation of Dude Love and them stitching his little mandible claw. So it is a good payoff, We may not know what happened there and then that night, but we do know that some guy stitched that little glove for him backstage.
Was that we're not filming Wrestling with Shadows? Was it filming Beyond the Mat?
Beyond the Mat.
Was it Beyond the Mat?
Yeah, I think it was.
Well, we found out that
was it? No, was it?
It was Wrestling with Shadows, wasn't it?
It was Wrestling with Shadows, yeah.
I get
Beyond the Mat was afterwards.
Yeah, every single person say a different thing.
There's
don't
still
you?
lots of juicy footage. You get Vince stumbling down the corridor. You get Triple H, saying
And
Bret's
the wife,
wife.
yeah.
Weird, like, yeah.
That's really uncomfortable, that bit in the corridor when she's just sort of scolding them all. They're all still like children. Like,
yeah.
She gets religious. She cuts religious promo, doesn't she? She goes all Austin on them.
Cuts a promo.
But I would have banned those camera crews from being back there because it just made things all worse.
Imagine if she was just like, if you want to play 21, I've got 22. You want to play blackjack? I've got 2 of those, too.
Mrs. Hart 316 says, what'd you say to Triple H? May God strike you down.
Triple H comes back with, you thumb your Bible. All you need's a bottle of Thunderbird. You'll be all right.
So, there's another angle on the Montreal Screwjob.
There's not been many.
There's going to be many more to come. We know that. That's wrestling. Do we just end this thing?
We've only been going for 22 minutes.
Have we?
Yeah.
Do you want to do Happy Birthday but in the style of Marilyn Monroe down the camera?
I'm good. I think you could do it.
Nah,
you could do it all sexual like.
I was banging on you doing that.
You could do all.
What else do you want to discuss? Then? We've discussed where he is on the GOAT scale. We've discussed his greatest feud, his greatest match, the biggest thing from his career. What could have been of Bret Hart if the accident with Goldberg didn't happen?
Oh, Sam, you're the WCW man.
Oh God, well, it was just a cluster.
Because to me, Bret Hart never really fit into WCW.
No, they didn't have a plan for him. It was like
here's $3 million.
It was like here's $3 million. Don't work for Vince. That was essentially they were like.
It's like when Chelsea signed Shevchenko.
When Chelsea started just buying up loads of players a few years ago and didn't use them. Yeah, and like they bring in Bret and it's like okay. And then they don't know what to do with him, and then he's face, and then he's heel, and then he's whiny.
His early stages with the Sting Hogan.
Yeah.
Oh, What a mess that was.
Yeah, and it's just they should have had a very clear-cut thing for him going through. He should have obviously always been in the title picture because he's Bret Hart, he's a big name, and he's a draw, and he's going to sell merch. But yeah, I think that because we had the death throes of NWO, you had bloody Bischoff getting everywhere, friggin' Russo starting to just go mental. Like,
maybe if you haven't got injured, it would have still been.
Yeah,
We just plodded along until we finished.
I don't think Bret could have saved WCW.
Would he have come back after WWF bought them out?
Oh,
Because I've just watched his Hall of Fame induction speech.
I find it uncomfortable.
Yeah, he has a go at them at the start, but he says, I promised on that night where I got screwed, I would always come back for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really say, well, would come back if...
I don't think he'd come back. I think if we were lucky, and if under different circumstances it wasn't an absolute dog and pony show when TNA came about, if there was enough sort of money kicking around, and I was always surprised that Bischoff, because Bischoff had launched like this massive bid to buy WCW before AOL did. So you had like the Big Bang was planned, all this stuff was planned. I was surprised Bischoff didn't just lobby to get more money and start a brand new company altogether.
The Big Bang, sorry?
It was a
planned pay-per-view.
Oh, right.
And it was going to be, it would coincide with the day I think that Bischoff would get all the rights to WCW.
Right.
And it was going to be this huge affair. It was like he had all the WCW talent on retainer still. Everything was like ready to go, and they were going to completely reboot the company after just rebooting it about 8 months prior, and just relaunch as this new WCW.
Right.
And it was like there's a really fascinating article about it on WWE.com, but if you read up on the Big Bang, it's quite interesting because I think if Bischoff had still had the money and the wherewithal to start another promotion, a guy like Bret Hart would be invaluable. So I just wish we'd saw more of him and Flair, and like him with a lot of like technicians, like people like Benoit, like Malenko. Like I think they just sort of threw him in with guys like Goldberg, and it was just a bit like, okay, it's it's a good match, but it's just not going to work, is it?
Imagine if somehow, and I don't know how, we could have had Bret versus Kurt Angle. That would have been lovely.
Oh, Christ, that would have been lovely. Yeah.
Dirty.
That is a wet dream of a match.
Yeah. I mean, what would it take, do you think, to get Bret to come back after the buyout?
God, I don't know how you could...
Because Sean's gone by this point, but he's about to come back.
I don't know how you could... If you were Vince McMahon, I don't know how you could smooth it out.
Yeah.
After what you've done to him.
Because it's what?
And he's a very honourable... He seems to be quite a stubborn man as well.
4 years, innit?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Bret seems stubborn. But it would have to be such an offer that he couldn't refuse.
Yeah. Plus, maybe he might have just retired after WCW folded. He was getting on. We were probably about 20... over 20 years by that point in the ring.
Yeah, it would be much more than that. But
so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Quite a sad note. Happy birthday,
Bret. What could have been for you, pal?
I'm really surprised.
It's a weird one with Bret, though, because he was so celebrated, but it's also such a tragic, horrible thing.
That's the Hart family. It's like it's just so brilliant, but so sad. Like the entire thing. But
the curse of being sick at wrestling.
Yeah, the curse of being the best in the world ever.
What AJ has it.
Would Bret work today?
Oh, if he came along.
If Bret came along today,
half an hour match with Seth Rollins every week.
I don't think.
I'm not meaning the WWE. Like, would Bret fit in anywhere today? Could he go to New Japan?
Oh yeah, I think it'd be a better fit in New Japan than he would in WWE, just because he's a bit slower paced than these days. No,
Randy Orton's done all right for himself. He's methodical.
That's true.
Methodical.
That's not slow. Methodical.
It's not methodical. It's paint by numbers.
But I think when Orton wrestles, and even though he's like the epitome of that WWE style, it looks like a WWE match. Whereas Bret's matches, he was one of the best at making it look real. He'd struggle in holds and stuff, and it'd be a little bit ragged, but still really good. But he reminds me a little bit of like someone who does that today really well is Omega. He often lifts someone up and he'll be kicking his legs and stuff, and it looks more real when
he. A match to watch for that is him versus Dynamite Kid. It's on an article on Cultaholic.com. Hopefully by the time this is being published. If it's not, it's coming soon. And I've put the video in there. Jesus Christ, the stuff they do, the bump on the turnbuckle.
Dynamite was so ahead of his time. It's insane. Like if you watch Dynamite's series back with Tiger Mask, it's just like like what junior heavyweights are doing today, but like back then, and he's like, I mean, flipping over the top of Tiger Mask.
25 years ahead of its time.
The pace is like through the roof. Everything's just just amazing. It's just mental.
So, aye, Bret, good innings, pal.
You did all right.
You did all right for yourself, you Bret.
Oh, you didn't even side off with "You'll always be the best there is."
Are we done yet? Bret, you'll always be the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Don't let Natalia tell you otherwise.
Bret, you're the king of my heart. There you go.
You're the sharpest in my shooters.
Oh,
Another I'll let you punch my heart.
Join us. I'm trying to.
You give me a heart attack.